Namaste, good morning, and we continue with our reassessment procedure. The terminology reassessment and block assessment has been unified now, and everything is there between section 148 to 153. I also had some problem in the Teams in the morning, in the software. That's why I was trying to figure out what it is. Somehow that one of the feature is not coming up. I will keep checking through the day. Okay. So where are we in our understanding of a reassessment procedure? We understood in our reassessment procedure, section 147 is the section which tells us that we will be able to reassess. Okay, thank you.
Sir, sir,
Solunga.
right now your audio is very clear, but your video is sometimes getting stuck.
Is it so for all of us, friends?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Uh,
It's,
what did you say, Sudha? Yes, sir.
No, sir. It's working fine for me.
Yeah. உங்க network check பண்ணுங்க, Antonio. Okay, so 140 we wrote in our notebook section 147 assessment or reassessment of income escaping assessment. Section 148, notice we are yet to come to that. Section 148A, enquiry and principle of natural justice, opportunity to be heard to the assessee, proviso 1. Proviso 2, where 148A proviso 1 is not applicable, where I need not give an opportunity to be heard to the assessee. And 149, time limit. 150, no time limit. 151, internal procedures of getting approval. 152, miscellaneous provisions. 153, the overall time limit, that is 149 is time limit for issue of notice, and 153 the overall time limit for completion of assessment. This is what we have been seeing. So in our introductory area of 147, we saw what is assessment, what is reassessment of income escaping assessment in the course. That is, I issue a notice saying a particular income is escaping assessment. In the course of assessment, if I come to know that some other income has also escaped assessment, I can also assess it. The assessing officer may also assess or reassess the income in respect of any other issue, okay, which has escaped, and such issue comes to his notice subsequently in the course of the proceedings. So in the course of the proceeding, I come to know, irrespective of the fact whether it is mentioned in the notice originally sent under 148A. Just a minute. Okay. So,
Sir, I paused with this.
friends,
Yes, sir.
what did you tell?
No, I said you had paused the recording.
Yeah, I have opened it. So, which comes to the notice, subsequently he can assess. What do you mean by assess and reassess? Assess means first time. That is, I missed out it in the scrutiny assessment. Now only I am taking it out. Reassess means already scrutiny assessment is over and I am now again taking up for reassessment. Okay. So, how do you do that? Again, like in faceless assessment, here also I am not directly coming out and telling you. I am giving you an opportunity because everything is now information based. I have some information which is transparent, which is available with you also. So I ask whether why I should not proceed against you. I will issue a show cause notice as to why I cannot do a notice under section 148. Okay, why I should not take it up as a notice under 148 and assess under section 147. Okay, that your income has escaped assessment. Within 7 to 30 days, you are allowed to reply. On the base, there it is 15 days. Here it is depending upon the issue, they are going to give the time. Or after receiving your reply. After receiving your reply and on the basis of material in my hand, I can proceed. On the basis of material available and on the basis of response given by the assessee, AO shall decide that whether it is a fit case for 148. Okay, within 1 month from the end of the month of the reply of the assessee, he should make a decision whether he is going to go ahead and reassess or not. Okay, now all these are first proviso. The second proviso says no, it is not applicable in some cases. What are all the cases? Search of yours and deemed search of another person. What is meant by deemed search of another person? Can someone tell me?
Binami's place, sir. Search in Binami's place.
32(4)(a).
Sir, if they are able to find any kind of money or something valuable which belong, and if the person who searched is able to prove that it belongs to some other person, it's deemed search.
Yeah. One thing I want to again tell you, nama colloquial use பண்ற word binami transaction. As he was telling, I am able to prove that the money, bullion, jewelry which I have belongs to someone. The books, accounts, documents which I have pertains to someone. Two terminologies you should use. Belongs to someone when it is asset, pertains to someone when it is books of accounts and documents, then deemed the search of another person. Look at the word. AO is satisfied. That is, AO should be convinced with the prior approval of the that is the internal management procedure, which they have to get, that any money, bullion or valuable article seized in the process of search or 132A, which is I requisition some other authority to give me that. In the case of any other person, what is any other person is other than the one who is searched, other than the one who is searched and seized, okay, belongs to the assessee, belongs to the assessee. Why this provision? Because everything is a Finance Act 21 amendment. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி we had three sections, 153BA, I'm sorry, 153A, 153B, 153C. 153A, assessment of that particular assessee. 153B, notice time limit. 153C, assessment of some other person if it belongs to or pertains to. Now it is merged. Everything is merged, not in one section. Everything is merged with reassessment. Similarly, deemed search of another person. AO is satisfied with the prior approval of commissioner that any books documents in the process of search pertains to some other person, then then he has to proceed. In all the above three cases, AO need not conduct inquiry. They need not give you an opportunity at all. They can directly issue the notice. Now I'm coming to that notice. What is the notice? The notice procedures have also changed. As I was telling from yesterday, whatever may be the exam in 2022, all possibilities of question from the procedural aspects. That's why when notice need not be, when inquiry need not be made, when inquiry has to be made, like that, it is going to be a straightforward theory procedural question, right? Okay. We all know the fundamental of our law. Unless there is a notice, you cannot complete the assessment. 143.2 notice has to be issued for completing assessment under 143.3. If that notice is not issued, if the notice is invalid, then assessment is void ab initio. So notice is essential. What did we then say? 144. 144 is known as best judgment assessment, where the notice is inbuilt into the law, inbuilt into the section. It is not a separate section. You have to issue a show cause saying why I should not go for best judgment, because you are not cooperating. Now, for completing assessment under 147, the notice is under 148. Before making assessment, reassessment, or recomputation, AO has to serve on the assessee a notice requiring him to furnish within such period as may be specified a return of his income or the income of any other person in respect of which he is assessable under this act for the relevant assessment year. Read through. இது எந்த செக்ஷன்ல இந்த நோட்டீஸ் இஷ்யூ பண்ணுவாங்க? Which section notice? I'm not clear in my question now.
143 sir.
143.3 அப்படின்னா அது வந்து ஸ்க்ரூட்டனி அசஸ்மெண்ட். ஓகே, ஆல்வேஸ் ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணோம்னா எந்த, what did I say, which section I told you? 142.1. So notice, I asked you, ஆபீஸ்ல போய் பாருங்க, சொல்லுவாங்க notice under section 142.1 read along with 148. Notice under 142.1 read along with 143. So, if you want to serve a notice on the assessee, if you want to serve a notice on the assessee, it can be only asking him to file the return of income. We will go to 142.1. In that, I have to tell you in which section, what type of assessment I am going to make. So the wordings used will be according to section 142 subsection 1. I mean 148 read along with. So a return of income need to be for the relevant assessment year. Abdina? The year for which income has escaped assessment. The year for which I have information about the income escaping assessment. Shall we repeat? Before making assessment, reassessment, recomputation, AO shall serve on the assessee, requiring him to furnish within such period as may be specified I now have an information. You also have that information. Make changes and file me a return of income or the income of any other person of which he is assessable. What is that?
Deemed such.
Illa, wrong.
Clubbing, sir.
I think long back itself I have said it is wrong. Representative assessee. Representative assessee. Agent of a non-resident has to file for the non-resident. Similarly, in the case of deceased people, the legal heir, this is represent in respect of any other person in which he is assessable. Clubbing is his income only. This some other person's income is assessable. Okay. Return has to be in prescribed form and verified in the prescribed manner, setting forth other particulars. The provisions of the Act shall accordingly apply as if it is a return furnished under Section 139. The notice should be accompanied. This is the beauty. The notice should be accompanied by the copy of the order. Why AO thought that it is a fit case? I told you already, we know in one of the procedures, final decision by the AO. What is that? On the basis of material in my hand and on the basis of your response. Okay, the AO, after taking the specified authority's permission, will decide whether or not it is a fit case under 148. This fit case illena dropped. If this is a fit case, why to prolong? Tell them directly, boss, this is why I am reopening your case. So here if you look at it, okay, the notice should be accompanied by the copy of the order deciding that if it is a fit case for reassessment passed under 148A, wherever it is applicable. Wherever it is applicable, na? Why are they using the word wherever it is applicable?
Because there are few cases where notice need not be given at all.
Notice கொடுக்காம நீ assessment முடிக்க முடியாது. Okay.
I mean, notice.
He is right. He is unable to explain. There are few cases where your inquiry and procedure for principle of natural justice is not applicable if it is search cases.
Exactly.
Okay.
For Proviso 2.
Proviso 2. So for Proviso 2, I need not give whether deciding that it is a fit case. Wherever applicable means Proviso 1 only it is applicable. So in Proviso 1, I need to specify it. Conditions for issue of notice. There itself we have studied. Information with the AO which suggests that income has escaped assessment in the case of assessee for the relevant assessment year. That is what is the fit case. AO has obtained prior approval of the specified authority. Now, what is that information? You have been saying information, information, information. What is that? Any information which is flagged in the case of the assessee for the relevant assessment year in accordance with the risk management strategy. Okay, any information which the risk management team says or any information C&AG, Controller and Auditor General of India, a final objection raised by CAG to the effect that the assessment in the case of the assessee has not been in accordance with the provisions of the law. Now, I want to again talk on this. There has been enough case in the past. Ipo, is income tax department audited?
Yes, sir.
Yes, by C&AG, Controller and Auditor General of India, their team audits income tax department. What they do audit, they are not doing a revenue audit. They are not doing a revenue audit as such. They are doing procedural audit. That is, நீங்க ஒரு கேஸ் அசஸ்மெண்ட் எடுத்தீங்க. That is, you took up a case for assessment. Have you followed all principles and practices? Or is there a way by which you have closed it without following all principles and practices? In the past, many cases C&AG pointed out saying assessment has not been properly done in these cases. These assessees has not been, though they have taken up for scrutiny or reassessment, but it has not been done properly. The previous law said, is it a good reason to open? Abdina, there is a question mark. It is a mistake of the assessing officer. How can that be a good case, etc.? Now the new law has overruled that, where Controller and Auditor General of India raises an objection saying that you have not done the case, you have not assessed the case properly. 143.3, you took the case for assessment. You have not done assessment properly. How do you say I have not done assessment properly? Whatever details you have to verify, you have not verified. Whatever details you have to collect from the assessee, you have not collected. So in those cases, I will say that you have not done your assessment properly. Hence, it is a fit case for reassessment. So, information can be one, as we all know nowadays in system, there is something known as raising of flag, red flag, where they say that it is not proper, okay, or some error, or assessee has not given some information. As per annual report, it is different. As per assessee's return, it is different. That is one thing. Based upon C&AG report, saying that the assessees, that the assessment is not done in accordance with the provisions of the Act. This is one. Second is Proviso 2, 148 Proviso 2. For that, I need not have anything. Deemed information. Search is initiated under 132, or books of accounts and documents are initiated, requisition under 132A. Survey, later part of the day we will see. Survey conducted under 133A. AO is satisfied that any money, bullion, jewelry or other valuable article seized or requisitioned in any case of any other person, okay, AO is satisfied, pertains to some other person, books and documents. So normally I will have information either from the department or from C&AG. Sometime I need not get department, I need not have information. What are all the case? Deemed information, search and seizure of you and or another person, and survey provisions under 133A. Yesterday in the class, I was telling you something. Okay, I will go little slow and explain you. 148A Proviso 1. 148A Proviso 1. I find that income has escaped assessment for financial year 18-19. Okay. 148 Proviso 1. Income has escaped assessment, okay, through information I will get it, okay, for financial year 2016-17, okay, for financial year, okay, 1819 1819 notice will be issued for which year? Friends, are you understanding? I got an information. My system raised a red flag saying that some information is available, which makes it clear that income has escaped assessment for the financial year 1819. Now I will issue notice under 148. Okay, notice under 148 will be issued for which year? Financial year 1819. Okay, நான் 1718 க்கு issue பண்ண முடியுமா? Information
Not
இல்ல, information pertains to 1819. Okay, information pertains to 1819. Can I issue for 1718?
No, sir.
Yes, 3
Thinking
years.
that year also it would have? No, I cannot. Can I issue for 1920? Information pertains to 1819. I get only information pertain to 1819. So I will issue notice only for
1819 only.
1819. Anga, I'm going back a minute. I'm coming back. Okay. The law says, okay, relevant assessment year. Assessing officer has to serve to the assessee, requiring him to furnish as may be specified a return of income for the or of himself or any other person under this act for relevant assessment year. In the year, which year I have the information that your income has escaped assessment, that year I will do that. Okay. Now we know yesterday I was telling this to you. Proviso 2. Proviso 2 is for what cases?
Exception for proviso 1.
What cases? What cases? Search and seizure.
Don't.
Okay, search and seizure. Okay, income escaped assessment. crores. எந்த year?
சார் இதெல்லாம் வந்து 148A ல தானே வரும். 148 is this proviso 1 proviso 2
you are right sir, you are right. அது வெங்கடேஷ் சொன்னா நீ முயற்சிருந்திருக்கியான்னு பார்க்கணும். Okay, please understand in which section, for which year you will issue notice. So I was yesterday
For the
Sollu Venkatesh.
3 to 10 years.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for remembering that. That I was telling you yesterday that what assessee will say, sir, this year only I earned. But we all know this is an accumulated wealth over a period of time. The money, bullion, jewelry is accumulated it over a period of time. You cannot say that this belongs to 1819, this belongs to 1718. I went on a search. I found that you have an undisclosed investment of 10 crores. I cannot say that this belongs to 1 year. Appadina, that becomes a relevant assessment year that will go to proviso 1. This can be, for I might have earned 3 crores 2 years back, 3 crores last year, 4 crores some 4 years back. So here relevant assessment year is very clear. Okay, relevant assessment year is that year for which I have information. When it is in proviso 1, when it is in proviso 2, relevant assessment year can be past 3 years to maximum of past 10 years. Law of limitation. Okay, so look at the words. Okay, in case of deemed information notice, In case of deemed information, okay, please understand, in case of deemed information, search, seizure, survey of assessee or another person, notice shall be issued for 3 assessment years immediately preceding the year relevant to the year in which the search is initiated, or books of accounts or other documents or requisition or survey is conducted in the case of assessee, or money, bullion, jewelry, other valuable article belongs to some other person. So 3 years. To be more clear, search is conducted in December 21. This is financial year 21-22. I will open it up for financial year 2021, financial year 1920, financial year 1819. Okay? Financial year 1819. Is this optional? Is this optional or mandatory?
Mandatory, sir.
Mandatory. Good.
Optional, sir.
இல்லப்பா ராஜா,
Optional.
ஆப்ஷனலே இல்லையே.
Oh,
This is 3 years you have to open.
oh, okay.
Past 3 years you have to open. So let us understand it slowly. I don't have a problem. 148
But
E.
why? But why, sir?
I'll tell you.
3 years.
Why? I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, why 3 years தான் நான் இப்ப சொன்னேன்ல. நீ 10 crores எந்த வருஷம் நீ புரிஞ்சுப்ப?
Oh,
You
okay.
feel that he earned only yesterday?
So, sir, இப்போ இந்த 3 இயர்ஸ்க்கு இந்த 3 இயர்ஸ்லயே இந்த 10 இயர்ஸ் 10 crores வரல அப்படின்னா நம்ம 10 இயர்ஸ் வரைக்கும் ஓபன் பண்ணலாமா சார்?
Very good.
கேஸ் சார்.
அந்த 10 years hold பண்ணு, நான் வரேன். Your question
Oh.
is right. I
So
will hold you.
more than 3 years it is optional and 3 years it is mandatory, right, sir?
Super. More than 3 years, it is optional based upon some condition. I'm yet to come. That is, your understanding
Oh.
is pakka, dot on. 3 years is mandatory. So, from the top, I am repeating 148 notice for for which year. The law uses a general word called relevant assessment year. What is that? It depends upon whether your case is falling under Proviso 1 or Proviso 2. What is Proviso 1? Proviso 1, I clearly have the information so that for 1819 or 1718, your income has escaped assessment. Sir, that year you have purchased a particular item, or that year you have made a particular investment, so my flag is raised. அது தவிர it can be even some sales not being reported, etc. There is a flag being raised. How this flag gets raised? ரொம்ப simple. Me and Venkatesh have a debtor creditor relationship. We purchase goods, etc. My assessment gets completed. In the process of my assessment, they obtain the statement of Venkatesh. I have always told you, இப்போ enquiry asking about me to Venkatesh. So I have sold goods to Venkatesh to the tune of 5 crores. In the books of Venkatesh, it is recorded as 6 crores that he has purchased from me 6 crores. They will ask me. They will send a show cause notice to me. Reverse. I have sold goods of 5 crores to Venkatesh. Venkatesh has only reported 4 crore purchase from me. Now, in Venkatesh assessing officer's system, there will be a red flag raised saying, look, this fellow seems to be underreporting something. Can you verify? So, information available based on the risk management software developed by the department. So, assessing officer will send first an enquiry notice to Venkatesh along with an show cause notice asking him, I have information now that Watson has sold to you to the extent of 5 crores, but you are only reporting 4 crores. That means 1 crore you have purchased but not paid through the proper channel. Can you tell us why I cannot take your case for assessment? Venkatesh writes to the department, no, it is only the difference in year. I have accounted this as purchases of this particular year or this particular year because I received the goods only then, or there were some issues on the quantity or the quality of the goods. So it was kept as a suspense and then I recorded it. So there is no revenue loss. They will drop the proceedings. Venkatesh reports to the assessing officer saying, no. There is some error. I'll also check. So based upon the information in AO's hand and based upon the response received from Venkatesh, AO can say that I am proceeding under 147 for a relevant assessment year. And the particular year for which there is a mismatch, he will take up an assessment. 148 Provision 2. I find out in the search process, in the survey process, I found out that there is 10 crores worth of income which is not reported. Either of the assessee or of another person. Assessee says, this doesn't belong to me. This doesn't pertain to me. It belongs to him.
Sir, a doubt, sir. Sir,
Come,
by the
allow me to complete. Okay, so in that case, in the relevant assessment year, I don't know what is that relevant assessment year. 10 crores pertains to which year? So the first assumption I make is in the last 3 years you have earned, and as Sudha said, for this 3 years, mandatorily I have to open. Mandatorily I have to open. I am ready with you for your doubt now, Antonio.
Sir, what do we exactly mean by surveys? Because we have used this word multiple times.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. நேத்தியே சொன்னான்ல நம்ம ட்ரைனிங் அட்வான்ஸ்டா போயிடக்கூடாதுன்னு. Okay. Time limit for issue of notice. That is what? Within 3 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. Can you all understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. இதுதான் கொஸ்டினாவே இருக்கும். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சிம்பிளா தான் இருக்கும் கொஸ்டின்ஸ். 2016-17. Okay. We stick on to the same person. Ananya has an income escaping assessment 1 crore. And we issue notice in 21-22, sorry. After 1/4.
No, sir.
Why?
I can issue a minimum of 3 years and more than that is also possible.
இல்ல. More than that 10 years. இப்பதான் Sudha was saying that is only for provision 2. This is a clear case in 2016-17. Now the system has raised a flag that your income has escaped assessment by 1 crore. Can we issue notice?
No, sir. Actually, the assessment year for 16-17 is 17-18. After that, 3 assessment years we can issue, sir.
Okay.
Till 2021 we can issue.
That's the pakka answer I want. That's the pakka answer I want. That's why I am taking this time. Okay. Only for past 3 years. Okay. Only for past 3 years I can issue. In 21-22, I can issue for 2021, no doubt about it. 19-20, no doubt about it. 18-19, no doubt about it. Beyond that, I cannot issue under Provision 1. Tirpiyum, I am making it very clear. You might have concrete information. Yesterday, our friend Ranganaki was telling in the class, there is a bar of limitation. நான் பாட்டு அப்படி போயிட்டே இருக்க முடியாது. I cannot keep on going. Okay? I cannot keep on going. There is a bar of limitation. So, only last 3 years assessment can be reopened. Only last 3 years assessment can be reopened. Give me a minute. I'm just taking up an example which our institute study material has worked out, so that sometimes directly as a question that example might come. Please understand. In case where information is flagged, information is flagged is coming under Proviso 1. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
In the system which suggests information flagged for 1617. From 1617, 3 years gets over for as on 31/3/22. No notice cannot be issued since 3 years have elapsed. A 1718, no notice cannot be issued. 1819, 1920, 2021. Yes, notice can be issued since 3 years have not lapsed from the end of the relevant assessment year. So, my dear friends, okay, for 16, 17, 17, 18, you cannot issue notice. So, be clear, this might be the example also in the examination. 16, 17, 17, 18, you might have concrete information with you that income has escaped assessment. Okay, as our friend was saying, bar of limitation. That finance minister in her last budget said, don't waste your time going back. So these 2 years, irrespective of any information, you cannot, whereas these 3 years you can. Okay, now coming to whatever we were speaking. Wherever AO has in his possession books and other document which reveals that income chargeable to tax represented in the form of assets. So remember, in the form of asset which has escaped the assessment or is likely to amount is 50 lakhs or more. Then you can go for beyond the 3 years up to 10 years. If I want to go back beyond the 3 years, the tax collection should be high. So, there is a monetary limitation which I am fixing. The law is saying, yes, go back beyond 3 years, up to 10 years, provided the income exceeding is 50 lakhs or more. Then go back beyond 3 years. How do you know income exceeding is more than 3 years? Represented in the form of assets. Indirectly, we understand this is for such cases. Asset mentioned above shall be land and building, share securities, loans, advances, and deposit in the bank. Okay. However, if income in relation to any asset located outside India, okay, you can go up to 16 years. This was there in the previous law itself. Okay, you can go if you are, because people were making income here, buying assets outside India. I want to catch hold of them, so that can go up to 16 years. Up to 3 years. Get from your departmental commissioner itself permission. Principal commissioner, principal director, commissioner director. Beyond 3 years, go to Delhi. The main people, principal chief commissioner or director general. Okay, so that the case is more stronger. There will be more checkpoints to verify. So majority of the search cases என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க, income escaped assessment 10 crores. 10 crores can be over a period of 10 years. So they will open it up for 10 years. Sometimes they will say in this 3 years only, past the 3-4 years back he was not a big one. Okay, so beyond the 3 years they will up to 10 years they might not open, but they can go up to 10 years. Remember, all of us, remember the answer our friend Sudha gave. Beyond 3 years, it is optional. I can open for 5 also. I need not go for 10. I can open for 5. I can open for 7. But 3 is mandatory. 3 is mandatory. So, the second part of the answer which institute gives. In case of where a search is initiated, AO is deemed to have information suggesting income as a, so this is a deemed information for 3 years relevant to the relevant previous year in the search. Accordingly, relevant previous years can be 21, 22, 20, 21, 19, 20. Thus, notice can be issued since 3 years have not lapsed from the relevant previous year when search is initiated. And they can go back, they can keep going back on search initiation. That answer I think they have not given further, that it can go up to 10 years and it can be more than 50 lakhs. But remember this table, I will post it in the material also, this particular table saying it's an institute example. Okay, I think இதே question with a different information, different இதுக்கு வரலாம். But mostly the same question will come just to check whether you have understood the notice criteria.
Sir, this monetary limit is for Proviso 2 only, sir. It doesn't apply for Proviso 1.
Majority, yeah, that is where I am saying they have not said their Proviso 1, Proviso 2. But why we say it is for Proviso 2 is indirectly they have given an information that assets doesn't speak about in Proviso 1. Asset is spoken about, money, bullion, jewelry are all spoken about in Proviso 2. So we tend to understand it is more for Proviso 2. Though directly the law has not said that words.
Okay, sir.
Take 2 or 3 minutes. Please read through. It is very important you understand this. 148. Then I will proceed to 150. So, are you all clear? Any doubts? Please ask me.
Sir, 148A is subject to the other conditions, right? To the other sections.
147 is subject to 148 to 153.
Okay.
Actually, 148A is the dynamic section, more dominant section. 148 is a little subordinate section to 148A. Only if based upon 148A only, the 148 notice has to be issued. Based upon 148A only, the time limit under 149 is determined. So I want to correct your understanding. 148A is a dynamic section.
Okay.
Sir, in the example you gave, the monetary limit exceeds 50 lakhs, no sir, unless otherwise it is specified that income is not in the form of a loan or shares, we can assume that it can be taken for more than 3 years, sir.
We can assume we cannot be, right? That's your question, right?
No, sir. Since the monetary limit exceeds 50 lakhs and the nature of the income is not specified, so how do we treat that, sir?
No, that's what. Unless the nature of income is known, we cannot reopen it. It should be because of asset. It should be because of other things. Otherwise, it cannot be. So, okay. So that is why I think your understanding should be, it should be an asset based. இப்போ நான் ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் உங்களுக்கு கொடுத்தேன். My purchases and Venkatesh sales or vice versa is not matching. அது asset based கிடையாது. அங்க 3 years தான். So
Understood, sir.
Yeah, it should be asset based.
சார் ஒரு சின்ன டவுட். இப்போ ஒரு கம்பெனி அமால்கமேட் ஆகுது இல்ல, அமால்கமேட் ஆனா அந்த கம்பெனில அசர்ட்டா கன்சிடர் பண்ணிருக்கிறது ஸ்டாக் இன் ட்ரேடா இந்த கம்பெனில ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் ஆனிச்சுன்னா இப்போ அசஸ்மெண்ட் ரைஸ் பண்ணும்போது எப்படி சார் பண்ணுவாங்க?
I will tell you, stock in trade is also an asset. So directly you can ask me, in the case of amalgamation, what happens is the question you have asked me, for which we have been answering from. The provisions will apply to the transferee company as it would have applied to the transferor company had the event not happened. So அங்கேயும் 3 years time limit தான். From the date of amalgamation லாம் கிடையாது. அங்கேயும் is only 3 years from the date of income escaping assessment if it is not under provision 2.
Okay, sir.
150, no time limit. இது கொஞ்சம் you have said in 149 there is a time limit. Okay, no time limit. Why it is appearing in not in blue is it is not an amendment, it is there in the existing law itself. Notwithstanding anything contained under section 149, it overrules the time limit specified under 149. Time limit specified under 149 is 3 years or 3 years to 10 years, etc. Notwithstanding anything contained under 149, AO shall serve a notice on the assessee for assessment, reassessment or recomputation to give effect to the findings or directions in an order passed by an appeal proceedings. In an order passed by appeal proceedings. Okay. 148, 147 reassessment, okay, was completed for AY 1415. Assessee went on an appeal. In the High Court, they held department is correct. In the High Court, they held department is correct. But only aspect is that the income has escaped assessment for 1516 and not 1415. High Court judgment said, boss, you are right. Income has escaped assessment, but your year of taxation is wrong. It has not escaped assessment for 1415. It would be 1516 or vice versa. It is not for 1516, it is for 1415. So reassess. So reassess 1516. AO sends notice under 148 for 1516. Assessee contends that notice is time barred. Assessee says, sir, 1718 Kamelada, you can now issue me notice. For 1516, you cannot issue me notice. So assessee says, boss, it is time barred.
No time limit.
Assessing officer says, sir, it is not because of me I am issuing that notice. Now read, you will understand. To give effect to any findings or direction. Who gave me the direction? By an authority in an appeal proceeding. High Court gave me the direction that reissue notice for him because this income is taxable under 1516, 1314, 1213, any year. No time limit provision. When High Court has said, or when an appellate authority has said, I need to. Are you clear? Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now Venkatesh, same case Venkatesh, 147. Okay. Reassessment was completed for AY 1415. Assessee went on an appeal.
Okay.
High Court said it is to be assessed in 1516. High Court also held that the notice under for 1415 itself is wrong.
Void ab initio? Is it?
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
why double C, sir?
That's beautiful. When the original notice itself has gone, you can never correct that error. Now you cannot say, no, High Court asked me to do 1516. High Court asked you to do on the belief that 1415 is correct. However, where the original notice issued itself is time barred, then fresh notice, even if it is on the findings or directions, will not be valid. Will not be valid. No time limit provision. Normally, for appellate authority, no time limit, provided the original notice is on time. Faceless scheme is yet to be notified. Faceless scheme for 148 is yet to be notified. So everywhere they will just give you why I want this scheme. Yesterday we saw eliminating interface between authority and the assessee or his authorized representative, optimizing the use of technology, in introducing team-based the notification has not yet come for that. 152 miscellaneous provision. Tax will be levied in that year's rate. Now 2016-17 income has escaped the assessment. That year, what is the tax? Even though you are finding it in the current year, that year tax will be levied at the rates applicable for the respective assessment year for which income has escaped the assessment. Where an assessment is reopened under 147, assessee can claim that the proceedings under 147 shall be dropped on his showing that he had been assessed on an amount not lower than what you think. Not lower than what you think. Sir, you have already assessed me as a short-term capital gain, taxed it at 30%. Now, if you reopen the case, it will become long-term capital gain. You will assess only at 20%. So drop it off. You have already taxed me at 30%. Where shall be dropped on is showing that he had been assessed an amount not lower than what he would be rightly liable for. Then drop the proceedings. Time limit 12 months from the end of the financial year in which notice is served. 12 months from the end of the financial year in which notice is served. Yesterday, in our reading, I said about seizure. Physical seizure, constructive seizure, order of restraint, okay, or provisional attachment, all these things we saw in a search case. In a search case, you have seized the asset. How will you use that asset? Said because after the assessment is over. Why I have written after assessment is because after the assessment is over only you will use it. Okay, right? 132b. It is in 132b only. Why I have written after assessment is you will clearly understand this is after utilization of seized assets. The assets that are seized shall be applied for any existing tax liability. That is, any existing tax liability means on the date of going for search, you have some tax due. Any existing tax liability. Liability determined on completion of assessment. Okay, so because of search case, what is the assessment, what is the penalty, what is the interest? Now this settlement commission is not there, but still old provision, liability arising out of settlement commission. So for this only we will use it. What are all the purpose we will use it? Any existing tax liability determined on completion of assessment. 15th December, 15th September, you have not paid advance tax. So I will use it for advance tax. Can I, the assessing officer, do so?
No, sir. It's only
Because,
for self.
yeah, it is
Final tax.
not a existing tax liability also. It is not out of liability of such case also. Advance tax is only optional. If I don't pay, I need to pay along with the interest. Manner of utilization. First, whatever cash is utilized. Then go for selling of asset. If money seized is unable to cover the full liability, other asset to be utilized. Then go ahead and use the asset. Assessee has the right to claim surplus asset. Total tax liability comes to 8 crores. You have seized and kept assets worth 20 crores. Give me back the 12 crores of asset. Keep 8 crores. Idella theoretical. Practically, we give bank guarantee and take everything. Assessee has the right to claim surplus asset. This shall be done so by presenting an application within 30 days. Where AO is convinced of the surplus asset, the same has to be returned within 120 days from the date of making an application. Otherwise, department has to pay 0.5% interest. This is about seized. Okay. So friends, I have completed that. Okay. The second and the third assessment, because now this is merged. Now these two are merged. This both has been completed. 143 completed. These two has been completed together. Okay, search cases ku முன்னாடி 153A BC இருந்தது. இப்போ everything merged. So in this process, how we completed, once we will recollect, we started with 131. Power of the income tax authority, which they get the power of civil procedure code. 132 search, where we saw who is an authorized officer, what are all his powers of search, all these things we saw in 132. And how the search is conducted, what is seizure, what is his duty to hand it over to the assessing officer. 132A, requisition of books. There we stopped, jumped back to assessment. 147, assessment or reassessment of income escaping assessment subject to the provisions of 148 to 153. Okay, that income or any other income which comes to his notice in the process of proceeding, he can assess. 148, notice. 148A, proviso 1, enquiry and principle of natural justice. 148A, proviso 2, where 148A, proviso 1 is not applicable. 149, time limit. 150, no time limit. 151, authorities which have to give sanction. 152, miscellaneous provision which says it should be taxed at the rates prevailing for the relevant assessment year, and if assessee can prove that he is already taxed at a higher rate, drop the proceedings. 153, time limit for completion of assessment. That is what is the second assessment procedure in detail. The faceless part for this is yet to be notified. It will merge with the first faceless process, because majority of the thing is the same, team-based assessment, etc., etc. So under 131, 132, 132A, 132B, that is utilization of seized asset, up to this we saw, and the remaining provisions also we will quickly wind up there and come to the next arena. Okay, so the remaining provisions goes like this. (133) Power to call for information. The assessing officer can call any information. What type of information they can call for? In the case of a firm, they can ask the name, address, PAN, and share of profit of the partners. Not a big thing. HUF of the members. This is from there, here it starts, the information gets wider. They can just send a notice to you asking, tell me to whom or all you are paying rent. Provide me the name, details, PAN of the landlord, or if you are paying interest to anybody, provide it. This is one thing. Dealer that stock dealers then they will collect all information. 288 BLA, now it is coming. Okay. They will write to the bank. They are practically doing it. They write to the bank and say, this year, people who are having 10 lakhs or more of transaction, please provide us detail. Once more, I am repeating. AO can write to the bank saying, provide me details of people whose transaction value is more than 10 lakhs. And the bank is bound to provide that detail. Are you clear? The bank is bound to provide that detail. Katirur Cooperative Bank received a notice from the Income Tax Department under Section 133 asking them to provide details of all deposit holder where the quantum of deposit is more than 10 lakhs. Katirur Cooperative Bank replied to the department saying, you tell me which are all the case under assessment. Why are you asking me all people? You tell me these people's case are under assessment. I will provide those details alone. Department said, no, we want it. Katirur Cooperative Bank went on an appeal to the court saying, if an assessment is pending only, that detail can be sought from me. If no assessment is pending, why are you sending me? The income tax department does not have the right to question me. Is the bank correct?
Yes, sir.
No,
Yeah,
sir.
yes, Venkatesh.
சார் அவங்க கஸ்டமர்ஸோட கான்ஃபிடென்ஷியல் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் அவங்க மெயின்டைன் பண்ணணும்ல சார். மேபி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் கேட்கலாம், கேட்கறதுனால எல்லா கேஸும் கொடுக்க முடியாதுல்ல. அசஸ்மெண்ட் மட்டும் இருக்கிறது வேணா கொடுக்கலாம், இட்ஸ் ப்ரொசீஜர் ரைட். பட் எல்லாரோட டெபாசிட் டீடைல்ஸும் கொடுக்கறது கான்ஃபிடென்ஷியாலிட்டி பிரேக் பண்ற மாதிரி.
I appreciate your answer. இப்போ ஒரு எது ஆர்டர்னு பார்க்கலாம்.
ஓகே.
I get the information. Based upon the information, I verify the tax return of the person. I understand his earning itself is 6 lakhs, but he has deposited 10 lakhs. I mean, over a period of time. This information, I have already asked a person that he is coming under assessment. Now I am asking the bank, which is information?
ஆல்ரெடி இந்த அசஸ்மெண்ட் கண்டிப்பா இருக்கணும். ஓகே சார், பட் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் வேலிடிட்டி செக் பண்ணணும்ல சார். லைக் அந்த டீம்டு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் ஆர் ஃபிளாக்ட் அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இன்ஃபர்மேஷன்.
So you mean to say that the bank will not have the information fully true and fair?
Might not be, sir.
Where no proceeding is pending against the person, can they ever call for information which is useful for any inquiry, etc.? Yes.
Okay.
The law does not restrict that the case should be nowhere. Ipa nama padichom 133. The law never said.
So, but do they have to give reasons why?
No, they need not give reasons why.
சார், பட் ஒரு பேங்கிங் கம்பெனில போயிட்டு எல்லா கிளையண்டோட டீடைல்ஸையும் இந்த மாதிரி கேக்குறது is it acceptable?
Yes, it is. That's why you are asked to quote your PAN.
Okay.
Can I ask you? Then you did not have this doubt when I asked the stock dealer, I want detail of all people who have traded with me. This information will only lead to assessment, Raja. This information will only lead to 148 notice, 148A inquiry.
Okay. Today banks are automatically reporting, right? Any cash deposits.
Yeah, they are now reporting. Yeah, I accept with you. They are now reporting. So our friend was asking, what is survey? What is survey? Okay, survey is a miniature version of search. Survey is a miniature version of search. Search is with the intention of confiscation, with the intention of seizure. Survey is with the intention that whether he is properly declaring everything. Very recently, okay, I have given you this example also once in the classroom. Very recently, the survey happened on all the agriculturists who are storing tomatoes. Why there is a sudden market price increase? Do you remember that I have told you an example about potato price increase? If you don't remember, fine.
Yes, sir. Raw material price.
Beautiful, Penny. Beautiful. Sir, what will be the cost of raw material if it is internally consumed? That is, I have my own field. From there, I am bringing the raw material. The price, fair market value prevailing on the date of bringing it into the godown as raw material. So, one of the topmost company had hectares of land in Punjab where potato is grown. That is, once in 3 months, they are transferring it to their factory where this popular chips get made, potato chips get made. So, it is easily found out once in 3 months there is an artificial demand created and the price of the potato is very high. The reason is on that day if they transfer, their agricultural income which is exempt will be high, business income will be low. So in the northern part of the country, northern and western part of the country, potato, onions, and in the southern. So இதுக்கெல்லாம் survey எடுப்பாங்க. They will survey, it might be beyond the scope of tax also, but they will survey why people are not releasing the stock in spite of the demand. What is making them to hold? Because you might on the face of it, idla enna sir idukku income tax ko let CBI survey, but there is something at the back door which is happening which affects the income tax department. IT authority may enter within the limits of area allotted to him, which is popularly known as jurisdiction, any place occupied by any person in respect of whom he exercises authority. Any place in respect of which he is authorized for the purpose of this section. Any place at a place where business or profession or activity is carried on, whether such place is the main place or not. The income tax authority who is having jurisdiction over Nungambakam can enter our institute premises anytime at a place where business or profession or charitable activity is carried on, whether it is a principal place or not. Any less place in respect of which he has authorization. Suppose IT or authorities of our friend Venkatesh, who is also in Nungambakam, jurisdiction Nungambakam. So what happens? Venkatesh, knowing IT authorities will come, goes to Pioneer's house in Avadi and says to the income tax officer, Avadi jurisdiction la irukavangala vara sollu. Any place occupied by a person to whom I have jurisdiction. So, survey can be the Nungambakam IT assessing officer of that particular ward, wherever Venkatesh is, because he belongs to my ward. He belongs to my jurisdiction. I can enter that place and ask Venkatesh what I can do. These are enter what they can do to afford them necessary facilities. Sir, na book paathitu poren sir. To afford them necessary facility to inspect books of accounts and other documents as he may require, which may be available at that place. To afford them necessary facility to verify cash, stock or other articles, to furnish such information. Last 5 years returns la irka sir. he can survey. Time of entry. Time of entry. Enna Antonio, what are you reading?
During business hour.
Tungita. Okay. During
Sir, look at sir.
during business hours. I am taking a minute out to just explain you. Previous law ரொம்ப நன்னாடுதான். During office hours. During office hours. Office hours is defined under factory law. 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. office hours. Okay, practical case. Mumbai club, which runs bar and other recreational activity, opens their club at 8 p.m. and goes up to 3 a.m. Assessing officer of that area felt that lot of cash transactions were going on and they want to verify. They went to the club at 9 p.m. The club owner said office hours is over. The law is amended now by replacing office hours as business hours. And now business hour is defined as when active business is conducted. So, whenever your active business is conducted, it can now be round the clock. Okay, there is a reason for me taking that time, business hours. I want you to understand what happened in the case and how that was solved. What he can do. Place mark of identification on the books and documents and other information. Okay, place mark of identification. Just mark of identification on books of accounts. Have you placed mark of identification in books of accounts? Any one of you?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
while vouching.
Huh?
While vouching, sir.
While vouching. Okay, then somebody else was also saying yes, sir.
The balance sheet.
Balance sheet, the signing. Okay.
Balance sheet. I mean, saying trial balance to ledger balance sheet.
Okay.
Typical
Okay.
book.
That is you are saying that tick mark. That is not that is verification. Mark of identification. I am sure your auditor would have taught you. My auditor taught me. My principal taught me. That
Mark of identification only, not.
Whenever cash in hand is verified, அதுக்கப்புறம் எந்த என்ட்ரியும் போட்டக்கூடாதுன்றதுக்காக we will immediately put a seal.
When close that is.
That is known as mark of identification. So they will count the cash. This income tax survey officer will count the cash and see what is there in the book and put it. Okay, place mark of identification. Impound and retain in his custody. It is seizure for a period as he may take for any books of accounts and other documents inspected by him after recording reasons. So only books can be seized, nothing else. Only books can be seized, and that too only for 15-day period they can use it. ஏன்னா அந்த புக்ல ரொம்ப என்ட்ரிஸ் தப்பா இருந்ததுன்னா take inventory, only take inventory, seizure கிடையாது. Cash, stock or other valuable articles. Record the statement of that person. Okay. In the case of TDS TCS, however, the IT authorities cannot remove or cause to be removed from the place where he has extracted anything. Only books can be seized. Okay. TDS TCS for the purpose of verifying the tax has been deducted or collected at source. An authorized officer may enter an office or place where business or profession is carried on and require the deductor or collector to necessarily facilitate whether you have collected tax or not. This is survey. சர்வேல கிடைக்கிற இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் கேன் ஆல்சோ பி யூஸ்ட் அண்டர் 148A, which is major information. Survey information is major information. Two parallel cases happened in the department. I went on a survey, the income tax officers went on a survey to a very famous bar in Mumbai. The cash balance was not tallying to the extent of, not joking, the cash balance was not tallying to the extent of 9.3 crores. This is an information which they might use even for 132. Search. Reason to believe that the assessee has some money, bullion, jewelry, factable, which has not been disclosed. Or this might be used for assessment under 148. In the same city, one other place, the cash balance difference was 1,20,000. And the assessee said, Sir, Nanu, innite entry podla. Today's petty cash entries are not passed by me. So this cannot be a fit case for taking up for reopening for 148. Now, I want you to understand, previous 148, relevant year itself 4-7, andamari. Not only 1 year. And the assessee won that case. In the first one, department won. In the second one, okay, those are not recent cases at all, but for your knowledge sake. And TDS TCS. So survey can also be a reason. So survey is not as big as rate, not as small as just collection of information. It is a miniature form of a search and seizure. Am I clear to you, Antonio? Do you understand what is survey?
Yes, sir.
என்னன்னு சொல்றா?
அதான்டா அந்த ஐடி ரேட் கிடையாது. அதான் டவுட் இருந்துச்சு ஐடி தானே.
Power to collect information and record statement. Okay, this is where I was always telling our friend Ananya, don't worry, I am there. Na? This is at the time of big functions, ceremonies, or events. Bharat Shah, today I don't know how many of you remember, his daughter's wedding was conducted in Wankhede Stadium. Either Wankhede Stadium. So like that, big weddings, they will be part
Sir,
of
wedding nale vera dhaan sir ஞாபகம் வரும்.
so I am not telling that. But not these people will never know that. Okay, we are all the sufferers of that. The power to collect information and record concern at the time of any function, ceremony, or event, even before the stage. So this led to big cases. Sudha was recollecting that case. The hall was not any particular hall. The function was happening in Chennai. I'm not joking, Chennai. Okay, the whole of Chennai became a wedding hall. Okay, so in department started collecting information from every person, how much they have been paid. Okay, so in the big wedding, that's why I said all wedding halls, all 26 wedding halls, Chennai, which are expensive wedding halls, are directly linked with the department. The PAN will be provided. So there can be a couple of persons who are just monitoring the wedding process, collecting information and understanding the scale and extent of expenditure incurred, okay, so that they can verify whether such income has been earned or disclosed in the returns. This is just the collection of information and record the statement. They will use the videos and all, okay, and on behalf of all of you, I promise it's our word to Ananya, don't worry, we are there. Okay, power to enforce compliance. These are all non-questionable area. Don't worry. Okay, if any person who is required 133A survey is a questionable area. அதுக்கப்புறம் B A6 long. Okay, if any person who is required to provide facility to an authority to inspect the books or other documents or to check and verify cash etc. survey போகும்போது any information either refuses or evades to do so, the income tax authority would be entitled to use the power under 131, which is civil code powers. Okay, however director பண்ணிட முடியாது, he has to go back and get the permission of directors and இதெல்லாம், that is the power available to the topmost official. The income tax inspector no ஒருத்தர், he will go every building and ask, provide us your PAN and whether you have filed your last year return. If not, they will go and tell the income tax department. இப்ப இருக்கிற system, computerized system வரதுக்கு முன்னாடி எழுதினலாம். So they at that time they have to go every shop and check whether you have filed your return or not. So he does not have any power even to verify etc. Do not worry about it. These are all the powers of CBDT in this 133A survey powers. Please remember others. Just passing reference itself is more. There are, I haven't seen questions unless it is the year of amendment. And CBDT amend the legislative through a circular?
So circulars are internal communication now, sir.
Yeah, CBDT does not. CBDT gets the power from the act. How can they amend the act? Amending the act is that of the parliament. CBDT does not have the power to amend the act provisions. They can, it is only, as our friend was saying, subordinate body. How to do the procedural aspect of the law only can be said by CBDT. CBDT does not have the power to amend the law. Okay, next.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir, regarding this thing, this circular. Sir, this 20% அவங்க இது வாங்குறாங்க, appeals முன்னாடி ஒரு இது மாதிரி some amount, 20% of the fees. So that is because of circular, right? Or that's what I've heard. I'm not sure.
That's because of law itself. When we do appeals, we will read that.
Okay, sir.
Forward thinking. Okay. This is an interesting case, twice asked. Okay. I'll tell you where this case comes from. The assets that are seized in the search process can be used for existing tax liability and the tax liability determined in the process of search. Okay. So, assessee who has been searched, asset seized. Okay. Assessee went to the income tax officer and said, you have found out that I have not declared an income of 1 crore. You have my asset. Immediately use that 30 lakhs because you will complete the assessment after 15 months, 20 months. I will unwantedly pay 234B interest for this 20 months. I want to avoid interest. So use the asset immediately. Use the asset immediately. Is the AO duty bound to use it?
No.
No, sir.
Yeah. If the law said, if the AO said no, he went on a case, the High Court said, read the section. Any existing liability, amount of liability determined on completion of assessment. Unless assessment is completed, I don't even know what you are liable to pay. Okay, so how do you expect me and the assessee's application for adjustment of tax liability on income surrendered during search cases by sale of gold bars, etc., entertained? Until the assessment is complete, it cannot postulate that a liability has been crystallized. Only when the liability is determined on the completion of the assessment, it is crystallized. So assessee's application, good case, but good intention so that assessee can save some interest. But the law says completion of assessment is mandatory for using it. So friends, we are over with assessment along with powers of income tax officials. We are over with assessment along with powers of income tax officer. Okay, when I say that we are over with assessment, I meant that the two process of assessment, entire process, what is it, etc. Okay, I want to just give you a brief about this assessment order. Though I in one space I spoke about it, assessment order should be a speaking order. Once more, assessment order should be a speaking order. Speaking order na eppadi irukona, it will be in spoken English. I sent a notice to the assessee asking him to represent in person. Assessee's chartered accountant so and so represented. I asked him this data. He gave me this data. I asked him further this question. He gave me. It will be like spoken English. What I asked, what he said. What I asked. So, every day assessment over ஆகும்போது, both in the manual era, not faceless, both assessing officer and assessee or his representative will sign. Sir, today we spoke all these things. Correct, sir? Sign. So that these things will be used in the assessment order. And in the assessment order, after these are facts, the assessing officer will come to a conclusion. That conclusion should be, I relied on the following cases. I relied on the following aspects. I relied on the following things. And then he will say, based upon the information collected, based upon the person's personal presence, based upon other factors, I am recomputing the income of the assessee and levying tax along with demand notice. With this, the assessment order will be over. Okay, assessment order should be in writing and should be communicated to the assessee, should be sent to the assessee. Now, draft order, final order, everything you studied, modified order, revised order, but assessment order should be in writing and it should very clearly state how I came to that particular conclusion. Post assessment, what happens? The simplest thing that can happen is accept and be quiet. Okay, இதை நான் லால எழுதல, ஜஸ்ட் உங்களுக்கு சொல்றேன். The simplest thing, But there can be 3 other aspects which can happen. Rectification of mistake in assessment order, revision by Commissioner of Income Tax, appeal, or after assessment order, after assessment is over, 3 things can happen. Rectification of mistake in the assessment order, section 154. For a minute, ஒரு travelல வந்துடலாம். I should have completed with the travel. We started our administrative provision with 139 filing of returns, where I asked you to remember 139.1 due date, 139.3 loss returns, 139.4 belated returns, 139.5 revise the return, a small idea about 139.9 defective return, 139 AA, that is Aadhaar PAN linking, etc. Rarest area. 140 self-assessment tax. Then tools of assessment are in 142, 3 internal, 3 external. 143 prima facie adjustment. 143.2 notice for scrutiny assessment. 143.3 scrutiny assessment. 144 best judgment assessment where cooperation is not given. Then faceless assessment 144B. 145 method of accounting is now replaced by ICDS. 145 and 146 method of accounting for inventory is replaced by ICDS 2. 147 reassessment, 148 notice for reassessment, 148A enquiry and principle of natural justice proviso 1, where it is not applicable proviso 2, 149 no time limit, 149 time limit, 150 time limit for notice, 150 no time limit, 151 internal procedure of authorities, 152 miscellaneous provision, 153 time limit for completion of assessment. With that, assessment gets over. 154 rectification of mistake. அதுக்கப்புறம் jump. Rectification of mistake in the assessment order. Assessment orderல ஒரு mistake இருக்கு, அதை rectify பண்ணணும். There is a mistake in assessment order. So assessment order is revised by commissioner. Okay. I feel, assessee feels that I am aggrieved by the assessment order passed by the assessing officer. So I go on an appeal. Appeal mari world's best oxymoron வேற எங்கேயும் பார்க்க முடியாது. அப்பீலோட ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வேர்ட்ஸ் யாரா பார்த்திருக்கீங்களான்னு I don't know. அப்பீலோட ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சென்டென்ஸ், the learned assessing officer has not applied his mind. The oxymoron இல்ல? learned assessing officer, அவருக்கு நம்ம மரியாதை கொடுக்கணும். The learned assessing officer, அதுக்கப்புறம் அவனை முட்டாள்னு சொல்லணும். has not applied his mind. சார் நீங்க அசஸ்மெண்ட் அப்பீல் எடுத்து பாருங்களேன், the words will be there. The assessing officer has increased my total income because of disallowing an expenditure as capital expenditure which is revenue in nature. இதுதான். So assessing officer has disallowed. I am saying no, it is a revenue expenditure because it doesn't have endurability of value, because I think the learned assessing officer has not applied his mind. So அப்பீலே வந்து அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கா ஆரம்பிக்கிற ஒரு விஷயம். In appeal there is faceless appeal. No. we start with rectification of mistake. While passing the assessment order, assessing officer has made a mistake. Repeating, while passing the assessment order, assessing officer has made a mistake. Can he rectify? Let us go back to 139 subsection 5, revised return. Revised return or preamble, do you recollect? Anyone recollect?
Yes, sir. Original character of original return.
To error is human.
அதுதான் to err is human, you should give an opportunity. Same, assessing officer is also a human. Assessing officer is also a human. So he should be given an opportunity to rectify his mistake. Provide that opportunity. This section says that opportunity should be provided to the assessing officer to rectify his mistake. What can be rectified? Mistake apparent on law can be rectified. அப்படின்னா
எந்த தப்பா இருந்தாலும் ரெக்டிஃபை பண்றாங்க.
பக்கத்துல இருக்க ஷெவுட்ல கொஞ்சம்
meaning which are very clearly given by law, saying if,
for example, what word you should use, what sentence you should use,
which are
There's no
bound
debate,
with
sir.
the framework of
which
law.
are not debatable. Somebody was telling correctly. அதுதான் I asked you to remember. I told you that I will ask you in 154 and 263 these words. What type of mistake? Mistake apparent on law can be rectified. Mistake which are not debatable. ஏன்னா I completed assessment, sir. I am the assessing officer. I took up Sriram's case. I completed assessment and passed the assessment order. This morning I am waking up and feeling the expenditure which I allowed in that assessment order as revenue is actually a capital expenditure. The expenditure which I allowed as revenue is actually a capital expenditure. So I want to, there is a mistake in the assessment order. I want to change. Is a mistake?
Clear lapse of application.
It is debatable. எனக்கு கேபிட்டல்னு தோன்றது. Assessee can prove that it is revenue. Assessee can show, sir, this is replacement of an asset. Revenue. Sir, this asset Infosys case. The asset is not owned by me, sir. The asset pertains, even though I have incurred expenditure on the asset cannot be under my control or owned by me. Only mistake apparent can be rectified. This is not mistake apparent. Mistake apparent, my friend சொன்னார், it should be non-debatable. இதுக்கு லால ஒரு காயினேஜ் இருக்கு. Change of opinion. Change of opinion does not amount to mistake apparent on record.
So then mistake apparent on record will just include like what? Typing a wrong name, typing a wrong font, something like that.
ஏன் அவ்வளவு ஸ்மாலா சொல்றேன்?
Wrong deduction amount.
கரெக்டா சொல்றாங்க பாரு. Deduction, wrong deduction provided, depreciation wrongly computed. I'll come to your question in a bigger manner now, very soon. So First thing, please understand, mere change of opinion does not amount to mistake apparent on record. Correcta? Every one of you?
Yes, sir.
You understood, Ananya, this?
Yes, sir.
இப்போ commissioner சொல்றார் revisionல ஒரு he takes up. Though I'll go by order, but I am just giving you this because some things, if I put it, nail it into your mind, you will never forget. Commissioner takes a case for revision and says, assessing officer's opinion is wrong. This is only a capital expenditure, not a revenue expenditure. I say, sir, change of opinion is not acceptable. Is not mistake apparent on record. Commissioner now says, I did not change my opinion. Assessing officer has an opinion. Who is a different person? I am a different person. So I am not changing my opinion. From my first, I was always thinking this is capital. Is this a correct argument?
No, sir.
No. It is the
Debate.
no. It is the department together which cannot change opinion. Not one person. His opinion, my opinion kadayadu. So, one rule which we are going to study in both these things is mere change of opinion cannot amount to mistake apparent on record. Otherwise, if there is a mistake, correct me. Then you will wonder what sort of mistakes are. You have understood that mistakes in the depreciation rate, mistakes in the... There is a Supreme Court judgment which I have not given effect to in my order. The assessing officer failed to give effect to a Supreme Court judgment. Supreme Court has said, in the case of Saurashtra cement case, the Supreme Court has pronounced that where the compensation is related to an asset, then the amount of compensation received will be adjusted in the cost of the asset. This is the pronouncement of Supreme Court, which I have ignored in my assessment. So, if there is a Supreme Court judgment, which I have not given effect to in my submission, in my assessment order, if there is a circular of the CBDT which says treatment of this item will be like this, which I have not given effect to in my assessment order, adallam da mistake apparent on record. Apart from the smaller things which we speak about, computation, depreciation rate, statutory limit, not disallowing certain items, okay, mistake apparent on record can also be these things. Okay. One fundamental principle, which I told you for both these things, change of opinion. Second fundamental principle, if assessee has gone on an appeal, then it cannot be if assessee has gone on an appeal, that means it has gone out of your purview. Such matter cannot be rectified. If assessee has gone on an appeal, it has gone to your superior authority. Your order you cannot rectify. Such matter cannot be rectified. That particular matter cannot be rectified. If assessee has gone on an appeal, then that particular matter cannot be rectified.
இதுல ஒரு டவுட் சார்.
சொல்லுங்க.
இது வந்து by any chance void ab initio ஆகுமா if it goes to appeal?
எங்கேயோ போயிட்டு. ஓகே. ஸோ இப்போ இதை புரிஞ்சுங்களேன். அசஸ்மெண்ட் ஆர்டர் issue 1 section 37 AO treated an item as capital expenditure and disallowed. Assessee goes for appeal. Okay. Issue 2 43B disallowance. Proof of statutory payment disallowed. Proof of statutory payment not produced, so disallowed. Assessee submits proof. Assessee now submits proof and say to the assessing officer, rectify this mistake. You have not asked me the proof. Sorry, I did not give it. Now I am giving you the proof. Can you please rectify this? Assessing officer says, boss, you have gone on an appeal. I don't have the power to rectify. AO says, boss, you have gone on an appeal. I don't have power to rectify. Is the AO correct?
Yes, sir. Once an appeal, once an higher authority is gone into, the lower authority cannot override it.
Ingada, for the first time we understood something exceptionally beautiful in the law.
Sir,
I
but
understood
court
his answer.
proceeding-
I understood his answer. His answer was yes, sir, because he has gone on appeal. Originally, other answer, but now I am making you understand.
But sir, courtல case proceedingல இருக்கும்போது
இருக்கு
Sir, கேக்குதா?
இருக்கு ஆனா ஒரு நிமிஷம் ராஜா, leave it to me. If
okay.
assessee has gone on an appeal, then such matter cannot be rectified. This is the first time we understood, and in more cases we are going to understand, which is going to be stunning, that an assessment order can be split into parts. This is the first time we understood assessment order singular. அதுல 5 issues இருந்ததுன்னா each issue is separate. For one issue, assessee can go on an appeal. For another issue, he can go for a revision. For the third issue, he can go for rectification. For the other 2 issues, he can accept. If assessment order speaks about more than one aspect, if assessee has gone an appeal, then such matter, நீ வந்து rectification in the section 37 க்கு போட முடியாது because you have gone on an appeal, but that doesn't mean 43B cannot be rectified. That doesn't mean 43B cannot be rectified. You submitted proof. Assessing officer said, no, you have gone on an appeal. Then the court said, this is the first case where clarity was given. Assessment order can be split into parts. For one part, if he has gone on an appeal, it doesn't mean all the parts should be read together. For the other parts, rectification or revision is possible. Then such matter cannot be rectified. That was clarified by the law. So, two base rules. One, mere change of opinion. Two, rectification should not be made or cannot be made if assessee has gone on an appeal, but the law clarified only for such matter that appeal holds good. For all other matters, rectification is still an open option. Sollu, Venkatesh, you were coming to say something.
இல்ல சார், ப்ரொசீடிங்ஸ் இருக்கும்போது கேஸ் போட்டவங்க அதை வித்ட்ரா பண்ணிட்டா அது டிசால்வ் ஆயிடும்
That
சார்.
is different.
சோ
That is different. That is withdrawing of case is different. Okay, right? I was telling you yesterday or day before yesterday about one particular friend of us who were in the classroom. I said if assessee has gone on an appeal, then the matter cannot be rectified. That friend was very much arguing with me. No, in our office, we have gone on an appeal as well as we have filed a rectification petition. I was telling, no, you cannot do it for the sake. Probably go and see if it is different provision. No, there is only singular aspect in the assessment order and we have done so. And then the next day, the friend came back and said that she went to her auditor and asked. Her auditor, after referring to various provisions and said that Vatsan sir is right. We should not have filed the appeal if we have gone for a rectification petition. Okay, but the tail piece information of that is the assessing officer accepted the rectification petition also. Okay, so lack of education can be everywhere. So actually, if the matter is appealed, you cannot go for rectification. But practically, some cases they try both the things because the time limits available are different. Now, theoretically, I'm just giving you a practical overview, but theoretically, what you should do is what is being spoken about by me. Okay, right? Friends, we will continue. I have a small request to you. Tomorrow alone, can we continue in the evening? 1 minute. So, tomorrow,